There was no way I was going to make the move to the San Fernando Valley. I was born and raised in West Los Angeles. That was my home. That's what I knew. That's what I loved. It took a lot of convincing from my wife to make the move to the San Fernando Valley, the Encino area. That's where my wife is from. And I went kind of unwillingly at first. So in this video, we're going to go over whether the move was worth it. I'm gonna give you my honest experience, my story. I'm curious, comment below on why you're thinking about making the move to the San Fernando Valley. I'd love to hear it. All right, so there's a lot of factors going into whether a move is worth making. And one of those factors for us was the cost of housing. It was a big factor for us. So the story goes that we were getting ready to start a family, that was a plan, and we wanted to buy our first home. Now, we were living in the West Los Angeles area, the Palms area, which is between Culver City and Mar Vista. Great little neighborhood, really close to where I grew up in Mar Vista. Knew it like the back of my hand, loved it, loved everything it had to offer. So we kind of wanted to stay in that area, and we started looking for places to live. Now, in our price range, we were basically going to be able to only afford a townhome or a condo, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, maybe about 1,000 square feet, 1,100 square feet. And at first we thought, well, that's what we can afford. That's what we're going to do. When we started looking, we were getting beat out. Yes, I'm a real estate agent, but still getting beat out in offers. And so as we were going through this process, kind of being beat out and really kind of figuring out what our needs are, we realized if we're going to be raising a family that we'd want a little bit more space, preferably a single family home. But that was kind of out of the question given our budget at that time. And this was about 8 years ago or so. So my wife, being from the San Fernando Valley, convinced me to start looking in the Valley area. Now, I didn't want to go over the side of the hill. There is a stigma. If you're from West LA, you don't go to the Valley. If you're from the Valley, you probably didn't really come to West LA. And this goes back from the 70s and 80s and early in the 90s, where they weren't really, these regions weren't really, they were kind of competing with each other on kind of where the best place to live was. And I think a lot of people at that time thought the West LA area was a better spot to be because you've got easy access to the beach. The weather was great. So there was no way I was making the move out there, even though I had gone to Cal State University Northridge, which is a bigger university in the Northridge area in the San Fernando Valley. I didn't want to actually live out there, but I wanted to give it a shot. And of course, happy wife, happy life. And we went out there. It was also closer to, my wife works in the San Fernando Valley, so it made sense for her commute. As starting a family, depending on the rush hour, or not even rush hour, just traffic in general, may have not been able to see our kids once our first son was born, and not as much as she'd like to. So we started looking out there, and I discovered that there are some really great neighborhoods in the San Fernando Valley that I was not aware of, and I really liked what we found. Most importantly, I like that we can afford a single family home, good sized home, with a lot, a yard, a backyard, nice quiet neighborhood near a park. And I just thought, okay, I am almost convinced. And then at first I wanted a pool, because if we're gonna move to the Valley where it gets super hot during the summers, I needed a pool. Now that didn't happen. However, we had 2-3 neighbors joining us next to us, not joining us in our house, but next to us, that had pools, and we befriended them in the end, and we can use their pools anytime we wanted. But the point was, the affordability in the San Fernando Valley made the move worth it for us. Now, we had to give up some things like being close to the beach and having exceptional weather. Probably some of the best weather in all of the country is in the West Los Angeles area. But for us, it made more sense that we were the growing family. We needed more space, bigger home. We wanted a yard, and it was worth it for us for that, and to lower the commute time for my wife, who was working in the San Fernando Valley. My job takes me all over the place. As a real estate agent, I'm all over, so it didn't really matter necessarily where I lived, because I was doing business in many different parts of Los Angeles. For that reason alone, that move was worth it. So as far as the affordability goes, yes, the move was worth it for me and my family. Now, I'm not going to get into the specifics of the price differences between West LA and the Valley, just because there are so many different pockets within West LA. There are so many different pockets and regions within the Valley. The Valley is enormous, 250 square feet or square miles at the San Fernando Valley, and West LA is large too. So if you want more information about the specifics of housing in the different areas and locations in those areas, check out some of my other videos on my channel. Subscribe so you can take a look at these videos. We'll go over the cost of living and specify housing costs. But in general, it was almost half of what we would spend in West LA compared to being in the San Fernando Valley. And again, this varies depending on where, but it's about, we personally spent about half as much, and we were able to get a larger home and more space. The key is more space, bigger home. As a reminder, I'm Dave Fine with the Real Estate Dads at eXp Realty, a licensed real estate agent right here in Los Angeles. If you're thinking about relocating or making the move, make sure you reach out to my team and I at the contact information below. And if you like what you see, make sure you subscribe to our channel to get more videos. All right, continuing on, was it worth making the move or not? We're gonna focus on kind of the entertainment portion of your lifestyle. Now, for me, I was a little nervous of moving to the San Fernando Valley because I wasn't used to the lifestyle out there. It's a little bit more suburban, a little bit more laid back, quiet and chill. I would argue that there are less things to do, less options, although believe me, it's Los Angeles, so you get a lot of options no matter where you live. But when you're living in West LA, it opens you up to a specific lifestyle that you have when you live close to the beach. And because we were basically living 5-10 minutes from the beach, maybe 20 on a bad traffic day. But the point is, we can get there super easy. Didn't really have to plan for it. If I wanted to just go take a drive along Pacific Coast Highway just to clear my head or just get in a beautiful sunset, I can do that. And it was such a great option for me to do. I grew up with the beach lifestyle, and you just don't get that in the San Fernando Valley. So when you're in the West LA area, you can access Santa Monica, the pier there, promenade, the 3rd Street Promenade with lots of shopping. You can access Marina for any of your boating needs, your jet skis, a little bit of shopping, some restaurants there. And you can get into Venice if you want more of that eclectic chic beach vibe along the boardwalk. But the point is, for me, I like being on the bike paths on the beach, feeling the sand on my feet, beach volleyball, or just relaxing on the sand. And that was a big part of my lifestyle. A big part of my entertainment was going to the coast, the beach, and enjoying that. And I didn't really get that. I gave up that when going to the San Fernando Valley. Now, sure, it's about a 40-minute drive to the beach if you're living in San Fernando Valley. Could be an hour depending on what part of the valley you're in. But just that alone kind of kept me from going to the beach as much as I would normally have gone. And in some ways, it was okay. My lifestyle was changing, and I actually was becoming more of a hiker, and I can still have that in the San Fernando Valley. You get to hike the back ends of the Santa Monica Mountains. I will say, when you live in West LA, you get to hike along the coastal side of the mountain range, which is really cool because you get some great views. So I didn't have to give up the hiking, but I did miss out on that ocean view. I also felt by living in West Los Angeles, there were different entertainment hubs. So you had Culver City, the downtown area there, and lots of shopping, great food, entertainment. I mentioned Santa Monica, and all those beach communities, those beach neighborhoods, they all have their own vibe, their own entertainment vibe, which indoor entertainment, outdoor entertainment. And you also have a little bit more options for higher end shopping, higher end eating. And there was a time and place for me where that was important. But as I got a little bit older, started having a family, that became a little bit less important. So I didn't really miss too much of that. I wasn't going out at night as much anymore. I wasn't going to the clubs or the bars, which you'll find more of that on the western portion of Los Angeles than you will in the San Fernando Valley. So instead of going out late at night and finding those trendy clubs and trendy bars, I became more of someone who really liked to hang out with friends, family, and neighbors in my backyard, grilling, barbecuing at night, going in the pool during the day, just kind of hanging out. That was a little bit more my vibe. So that's what I got out of living in the San Fernando Valley. And as far as going shopping, I'd find kind of the shopping malls, the big shopping centers that the San Fernando Valley is known for. They got a newer one built in Woodland Hills, the Village, which is fantastic. Kind of whets my appetite a little bit if I need some of the kind of the trendy stuff. You can find it a little bit there. And then Ventura Boulevard, all throughout the valley, has plenty of shops, plenty of amenities, plenty of restaurants, and they're all a little bit different depending on what neighborhood you are in the valley. So was it worth it, the move, even though I missed that part of the entertainment? And that to me is 50-50. The nightlife, The high-end stuff wasn't really my speed anymore. It wasn't what I needed in my life. The beach, I still missed. I liked that coastal breeze that came in. I liked the ability to go to the water. Ultimately, I was fine with it, but I did miss it by moving to the San Fernando Valley. All right, the other factor which I was thinking about whether it was going to be worth making the move to the San Fernando Valley is the weather. I know it's funny. Probably if you have seen my other videos, you will see that weather is a big factor in why people move to Los Angeles in general. But there's different weather patterns within LA itself, and that includes the difference between West Los Angeles and the San Fernando Valley. And why that made a difference is, so as I mentioned, I went to school at Cal State University Northridge, and so I was there throughout the year, and the spring and especially the summers can be really brutal, triple digits, stifling, uncomfortable, especially if you're not used to it. Again, my wife, born and raised in the Valley, she kind of used to it, so it didn't affect her as much. But for me, I was used to that coastal breeze. I was used to about a 15 to 20 degree cooler temperature, especially during the spring and summer. And it may sound funny for people that are moving from other places of a part of the country where it's like I'm complaining about sun and heat when people are struggling with snow and rain in winter, especially during those fall and winter months. But when you're born and raised in the West LA area, you get a bit spoiled with it. And we, again, best weather. West LA, you're 70s, 80s during spring and summer, drops to like the 60s in the fall and winter. That's during the day. And the nights aren't bad at all. I mean, you're really not going to dip below the 40s too much, mid 40s. And so going to the Valley, I had to consider whether I was going to tolerate the heat. And that's mainly because during the spring and summer, you're sitting around 80s and triple digits, 100, 105, 110. Sometimes we get there. Even a little bit higher depending on where you are in the valley. But it could be stifling. Like as much as it's sunny and it's beautiful to go outside, you may not want to go out as much, or you're going to want to find some shade. Or if you like to work out outside or go for a run, you're going to have to go a little bit earlier in the day or later in the evening. So weather did play a big role, again, making my decision whether it was going to be worth moving to the valley. Because for someone like myself who loves being outside and an outdoors person, and that's kind of the LA lifestyle in general, I wanted to make sure that I was not going to miss that and not miss those opportunities. So what happened was when I moved to the San Fernando Valley, I realized spring and summer, maybe I'm not going out kind of midday, mid-afternoon. I'm doing my outdoor activities more in the morning or towards the later part of the day in the evening. And I will say that's kind of been the benefit of living in the San Fernando Valley is you can go for a nice evening walk in shorts and a t-shirt and you're not going to be cold, and it's kind of nice. It's 70 degrees. It's very comfortable hanging out in the backyard, grilling something or poolside in the evening. Or you wake up in the morning. For me, I like to kind of burn off some steam, collect myself before work, go for a nice walk in the neighborhood or the Lake Balboa Park, which is a beautiful place to take a walk around, or even an early morning hike. And it's 70 degrees out, so it's very comfortable. I'm not bundling up. I'm comfortable, shorts and a t-shirt again. So that part of it has been the benefit of living in the Valley compared to in the West LA. It's a little bit cooler, stays a little bit more chillier, and so you don't do that as much, or you have to bundle up, I guess, a little bit more. Not that that's a huge deal, but it does make a little bit of a difference. Now, regardless of whether you are in West LA or the San Fernando Valley, you are still going to get about 300 days of sun, so no complaint either way there. That's pretty equal. You get a little bit more fog and marine layer that rolls in when you're on the coast, but it usually fades back out in the mid-afternoon, so that sun pops out. So in the end, I do miss the West LA near perfect weather year-round, but I still enjoy what I have in the San Fernando Valley, so still worth the move when I consider everything that goes with the weather patterns in West LA and San Fernando Valley. All right, let's talk about maybe the difference of culture, lifestyle, people. Not when I say culture, I mean LA culture. That's what I'm specifically talking about, the way people live and play when you're living in Los Angeles. So there is a difference, in my opinion, between West LA and the San Fernando Valley. I find that in West LA, there's a little bit more hustle. You have a lot more of the tech crowd And I think people are kind of more on the go, 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 even though it's kind of mixed with that beach vibe, that chill and relax. Whereas in San Fernando Valley, I find it's a little bit more laid back. People are a little bit more less engaged with the current cool trends, not as focused on go, go, go. I'm not saying people do work a tremendous amount of time when in the San Fernando Valley. It just has a little bit of a different feel. I feel like when living in West LA, people were always talking about their hustle and their drive, which I'm all for. But again, as I was getting a little bit older and a little bit different stages in my life where I was starting to raise a family, my priorities were shifting, my needs and wants, my conversations were a little bit different. Now, neighbors that I had in West LA and San Fernando Valley, some of the best neighbors I've ever had in both areas that when I lived in them, friendly, hung out with them. So that was pretty equal. So I think that was great. I didn't have to give up on that. That's also depending. I mean, it's kind of the luck of the draw on where you end up moving or living. But that goes back to just in West LA, it's just a little bit more trendy. You have a lot more tourism. So you're dealing with people coming in and out of the region for various reasons of tourism, especially along the coast and the beach, in Culver City. And if you go and venture into like the Hollywood, Beverly Hills area, especially there too. And so a little bit different vibe. When you're in the San Fernando Valley, as I mentioned, it's there's less of that. You know, yes, you've got some Hollywood stars and people living in those hills like in Encino, Sherman Oaks, in Studio City, Valley Village, Calabasas, but you don't necessarily have the vibe of that, the trend, the trendiness, and that kind of the Hollywood feel. You don't really get that in the San Fernando Valley. I feel like when you're in the West LA area, it's more about meeting up at the trendy restaurant, the trendy bar, the trendy shopping district. Whereas when you're in the San Fernando Valley, I feel like it's more, let's meet at the park, let's meet on a hiking trail, let's just meet out in the neighborhood, and maybe we'll get a bite to eat somewhere along Ventura Boulevard. But it's like you don't, instead of finding the trendy hotspot destination to meet and gather, like in West LA, San Fernando Valley is, I feel a little bit more people oriented and less about the actual destination. So again, if I was in my 20s and living that lifestyle like I used to, early 30s, I would have missed out a lot more giving that up in the West LA area. So for me, it was actually still worth the move and being in the San Fernando Valley because of the lifestyle change for me and myself and my family. Another factor a lot of people consider when making the move to Los Angeles and to different parts is the different traffic patterns. And I know this sounds crazy, something to actually consider when you're making the move, but if you are not from Los Angeles and you're moving here from outside of the city, outside of the state, outside of the country, then you're going to want to take heed on knowing the traffic patterns and what it's like to commute in Los Angeles. It is something you should absolutely think of if you're going to be purchasing a home or living somewhere and having to commute to where you're going to be work. Depending on how far it is, you could spend a large portion of your time on the freeway system or the streets themselves. So it may be something funny to think about. You may not have to think about that where you live now, or you may think about that only during your rush hours, mornings and evenings. But in Los Angeles, it's pretty much all day long. So it does make a difference. And I know, so I wouldn't gloss over this on not really paying attention to why traffic makes a big deal, because honestly, in Los Angeles, it could affect your mood, it could affect your lifestyle, it just could affect your daily life in general. So I say that because people spend hours a day sitting in their car getting to where they want to go, whether it's for work or for entertainment, for meeting people, and that can really be a bummer and bring you down if you're not equipped to deal with it and understand that that's just kind of the way of life. Ideally, you're going to find a spot where you can live and work and play all within the same region. Now that is kind of finding the rainbow or the pot of gold at the end of a rainbow, because it is hard to do. But if you can, that's ideal. So what made it worth it for us is, again, as we're starting our family, given the commute from my wife was going to be 45 minutes to an hour each way. And so given that, wouldn't be able to see our kids much in the morning or in the evening and kind of be just relegated to only seeing them on the weekends, which was not ideal for us. And if we could avoid doing that, that's what we preferred. So that's why it was worth making the move to the San Fernando Valley. That made my wife's commute about 10 minutes. And again, for me, I'm a little bit more on call, a little bit all over the place, the city. It didn't really factor in as much for myself, and I was willing to kind of sacrifice maybe a little bit more commute time to make sure that we didn't overall, that my wife was going to be happy with her commute time and not miss out too much on the kids' life during the week. So in West LA, for us, there was a lot more traffic. To get anywhere, I feel like you're going to be sitting in traffic in the streets, in the freeways, and just it takes so long to get to different places. In the San Fernando Valley, yes, there is traffic. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but it is easier and there is less of it. Maybe it's the way the region is set up like a grid. It's easy to commute. There is less people, less density in the San Fernando Valley than there is in the western portions of LA and in other portions of LA. So you do have less people. So for us to get where we wanted to go throughout the valley, yeah, it took time because there is traffic, but not nearly as much as we experienced in West Los Angeles. So in that way, the move was worth it because we can get to our entertainment spots, get to the amenities that we needed, shopping, food, whatever it was that we wanted. We can get there a little bit quicker, and it was a little bit less of an outing. Now, going back to the traffic in general, so what we found was, and what I found personally was, my wife was a lot more happier when she got home from work because she didn't sit in traffic for an hour. And our kids, and it just affects everything. Our kids are happier because they don't have to sit in a car as long to get to the park or get to the restaurant we're going to or get to the hiking trail that we're going to go to. So that all makes a difference. And when you just feel overall a little bit happier because you're not there angry at why you're just sitting in a parking lot on the freeway or on the street, it affects the mood overall and affects your quality of life. So it is an important topic to discuss. You can see my other videos. I talk about it probably ad nauseum, but hey, it's a big thing to think of. So for us, it was worth it. The San Fernando Valley has less traffic issues. I will say parking too, a lot easier when you go to your destinations here in the Valley. You don't have to pay for parking as much as you do in West LA. You have more parking options. You don't feel the density that you do, so you don't have to circle around forever to find places to park. So that's a little bit of a side note, but kind of goes with being in your car, so I thought I'd bring it up. So all in all, the move to the San Fernando Valley for us was worth it. We didn't make a big move. I know some of you were thinking of making a big move from outside of the state, outside of the country. So that's a little bit of a different story, different things to tackle with. But we made the move from West LA to the San Fernando Valley. And if you're from Los Angeles in general, sometimes that does feel like a big move because they are so different. And even though geographically they are super close, we're talking, 10 miles depending where you are in the valley to 14 miles that separates the two. But you are talking potentially 30 minutes to an hour that separates you time-wise, and the vibe and the feeling is different the lifestyle is different depending on where you are in those two regions. The one thing I do miss, and the one thing that made it a little less worth it, I guess, is I do miss the near perfect weather in West LA and the access to the beach and kind of that coastal lifestyle that I grew up in and just loved so much for most of my life. So that was a little bit of an adjustment, but you know what? I can get to the beach still and still enjoy that. And for everything that came with all the benefits that I got from moving to the San Fernando Valley, it still in the end was definitely worth it. And I highly recommend living in the San Fernando Valley. So if you are thinking about relocating to the San Fernando Valley, Los Angeles region in general, make sure you reach out to my team and I at the contact information below. We'd love to hear your comments of why you're thinking about making that move to the Valley. And my team would just love to help. If you want more of these videos, make sure you subscribe, tap the bell to get notified for the new videos that release once a week, and hit the like button if you like what you see.